Jazzcast Pros.
Welcome to Healing Her Within, where inner healing meets unstoppable power. This podcast is for women ready to stop shrinking, heal their inner child, and rise into their true selves. I'm your host, Marianne Rivera, and here we have real conversations about healing, growth, and reclaiming your voice. You were never broken, you were becoming. So take a breath, settle in, and let's begin from the inside out. Today we have an amazing young lady with a story that you are going to be listening to firsthand. So please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
I'm Saige Whitney, and I run a podcast, a Lights Out Narcissistic podcast. And it all happened from my crazy experience with a narcissist. And from that trauma and that super dark place, I decided to start this podcast to raise awareness and to educate empaths in having boundaries.
Thank you so much for, being here and for sharing about your story. So, having done some research on you, you speak openly about surviving incredible, difficult experiences. So, what was the moment that you realized that healing was possible and not just for survival?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you're going to attract what your trauma level is. That's a very interesting thing to say, but so I had a lot of trauma but I'm an empath and she had a lot of trauma. She's a narcissist. But our traumatic experiences were both so alike that we attracted each other. So I realized if I wanted to start attracting high quality people, I had to heal myself so I would stop attracting narcissistic, abusive people. So I went on this journey. There's a famous psychologist, and they say if you can write out your trauma in depth, the worst thing that ever happened to you, at least 4 times, the trigger from the trauma significantly drops. He said it almost even goes away. And
Wow.
so I said, okay, well, and this was before I knew that, but speaking about my trauma and writing it down has always been a great release for me. So with my podcast, I was able to write it down, type it out, and speak about it. And through that process, it started healing me. And it wasn't just for the narcissist, it was for past events too. I started healing from those past events. I started doing energy healing, spiritual healing, learning about quantum energy and why we're here, Hinduism teaching, soul contracts, all of that. And let me tell you, where I was 3 years ago to where I am now, it's night and day. Night and day. I healed an addiction in that process. And God was there the whole time. And I'm just so very grateful to heal and to be healed and to let people know it's possible after traumatic experiences and experiences with a narcissist. Any healing is so possible. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, kudos to you for being open to the teachings of this therapist. And not only did you listen to his teachings, you actually implemented it and it changed your life. So for a woman who might be listening right now, who feels emotionally exhausted and broken from life experiences, what's the first small step toward healing that she can take?
The first small step towards healing, and I can quote this researcher, Dolores Cannon, stated this: I am lovable exactly as I am. When you're struggling with self-doubt, not feeling good enough, keep repeating that until you believe that. And I've struggled with worthiness, right? If you don't believe you're worthy of love, you're going to attract low quality partners also. It's all what you believe. That's why I love to say that I want my someday daughter to be kind of bratty, because then she'll attract a really good man because she knows she deserves good. right? It's just how it works. That's why that works out. And so you got to believe that you're worthy, that you're deserving. And that is a saying that is just pure gold. And that's something I say to myself a lot.
So, a lot of women feel disconnected from themselves after trauma and toxic relationships. So, what was your exact path that helped you reconnect with your own identity and your voice again?
I was in a dark hole after this experience with a narcissist that I talk about in my podcast. But my biggest thing too was I did have an addiction at the time. And we have addictions to avoid our trauma. That's all, like, that's why people have addictions. They have trauma. They don't want to feel it. They don't want to face it. So they go into addiction, sex addiction, alcoholism, whatever it is. People, codependency. That's an addiction. So I realized, I have this addiction and this is just from trauma and it's not going to go away till I heal this trauma. And so I really went to God and I told him, I was like, just show me what I need to do. Show me how I get better. I'll do whatever you want. I surrender to you, God. And so he said that, and that's surprisingly in the addiction process, that's part of the 12 steps. I didn't even know what this was, what the 12 steps were until like a year later. But God had like 12 stepped me through my addiction. So the first step was you surrender yourself to God, that you are powerless. Yep, I'm powerless. You know better than me. Show me what I need. And then there was the process of, there's all these steps, but like step 4 is like writing down your trauma. So I started doing that, feeling it. And then there's all these other steps, and there's step 9, which is like making amends, taking accountability for any problem I had made, apologizing to people from 10 years ago, just taking accountability for my life. That was healing. Saying sorry was healing. We don't think that that's healing. It's so right. Healing. You're taking off a brick in that backpack of grief you have. You're putting it down. You're getting rid of that. And so we don't always realize that saying sorry and apologizing is healing. That was healing. It was amazing. It was like the best feeling to tell someone, I messed up. That was not okay. I manifest you heal. I manifest good things for you. And being an empath, I could feel them healing. And it was a beautiful feeling. And so, for people that do need guidance, like even if you're not an addict, the 12 steps was amazing for me. And also realizing like that's the past. And I like to call the past an old timeline. Right? When I took abuse, when I was everybody's taxi cab driver because I couldn't say no. That's an old timeline. And we have to realize I'm in my new timeline now. I'm in my golden era. I'm in my expensive rich girl era where I know I deserve good. And if I'm not getting that from someone, I'm not putting up with it. Goodbye. I release you now, And so I like to talk to a lot of people about realizing that like the past is in the past and we're here now, and let's focus on our new timeline now. Because what happens is you're doing good and then you get a trigger from the past and you're back in that old timeline. You're not there anymore. You don't live there anymore. So I tell a lot of people, let's focus on where we're at now.
So going a little deeper, what was going on in your life, or how did you get yourself into the situation of being involved with a narcissist?
So I've been a CNA for about 5 years. I was a travel CNA. It was really fun. I worked at over like 30 different skilled nursing facilities in Utah. I saw a lot of abuse, saw a lot of residents abusing CNAs and management not doing anything. That's a whole nother story. But I had finally gotten to the position where I was an assistant activity director at a skilled nursing facility. For the listeners, a skilled nursing facility is there's a variety of people that can live there. There are generally elderly people that need assistance, so they sometimes will live out their life there. There's someone, say, recovering from a surgery that needs physical therapy every day. They'll live there. We have people that have strokes that live there, all types of people. So that's what a skilled nursing facility is. Generally, most of the people, if it's a skilled nursing facility, are in wheelchairs. It varies. So I was a assistant director and she was a resident. She was about 22 and we were friends. We would talk, and one day she had my number somehow. She texted me, "I'm alone, I'm sad, I'm scared. I have 6 months to live. Will you marry me?" Just so out of pocket, crazy. And at the time, like what I was telling you, I was in my old timeline of not feeling worthy of love, not, not my rich girl era, none of that. And so I just felt chosen. I felt like I could heal her, which I talk to empaths about a lot. We're not here to like sacrifice ourselves to heal people. We're here to just shine our light.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of empaths go on that. I need to go save people. No, we're not here to save people. But that's what I thought. I'm going to save her. And so when I said yes to her, I wanted to consult her when I got there and tell her, "Hey, let's be friends for now. And then when you leave this facility, we can get in a relationship because I'm part of the staff. This looks unprofessional." But before I even had the chance to tell her that, she told everybody, which looking back now is like blackmail. It felt like blackmail at the time. So yeah, that's the start. And then from there, she harassed tons of the staff members, asked male nurses to have sex with her. She had sex with a man she met on Tinder behind my back while we were still together. So she got kicked out of the facility. So that is how I met her.
Yeah. So you found yourself in this situation. She proposes.
Yes.
You violated some type of policy, I'm assuming, because you were an employee and she was a resident. And you said that you were feeling unworthy and unloved and you felt chosen and seen. So going even before you were in a relationship with her, what was going on in your life? What led to those feelings of feeling unworthy and unloved that you made this decision to be, say yes to somebody who was under your care?
Yeah. So I wasn't taking care of her. So it wasn't illegal, but it wasn't professional, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I wasn't her nurse or CNA. But yeah, there was definitely a lot of good girl syndrome in me where it's like, I can't say no to a dying girl. And I talk about this a lot in my podcast episode 4, is that we're groomed, a lot of women and men are groomed from childhood to just say yes to whoever. Put other people's feelings above our safety. And that's what I did. I didn't feel like I could say no. What started this unworthiness was around 20. I went to BYU, Idaho, and my roommates all got together and reported me for gay tendencies and like made up all these rumors that I was like watching them in their sleep, going to attack them. They called the police on me. They turned me into a monster. And then I had 2 bishops tell me I shouldn't be around women, like corner my new roommates when I changed rooms. Yeah, totally have PTSD from that experience. So that's where that unworthiness came from.
Yeah. And then you also talked about boundaries when we first started. So you started saying, affirmations, you started changing your mindset, and then come in boundaries. So how did you start making that shift? And how did setting boundaries affect your relationship with other people?
Yeah, so after this whole just horrific experience, I really realized that I couldn't say no and I couldn't set boundaries, and that other people were running my own life. She was running my own life. Because I didn't have boundaries, she'd call me at 2 a.m. in the morning. Hey, I need you to come to the hospital. So I had no boundaries at all. So I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, I got to make a change. I can't let this happen again. You know, this experience ruined my life. So I started with little boundaries, just small boundaries, looking myself in the mirror and saying no 50 times a day. Because I've never been able to say no ever. No, stop it, don't touch me there. All those things I've never been able to say. So I started just saying that in the mirror and getting used to those words leaving my mouth. Then with people around me giving a clean no or a clean yes. So like someone asked me, do you want to go to this event? I don't want to. Once I started giving clean yeses, clean nos, not just knee-jerk yeses to be a people pleaser, my life got better because I wasn't just going to events to people please. If I said yes to an event, I actually wanted to be there. So people didn't have to guess with me anymore. Oh, well, Saige looks like she's having a horrible time, but she said yes to this event, right? And so I was able to give clean answers. And so people almost felt safer around me because they knew I wasn't lying or just trying to people please. If I wanted to be there, I was. If I didn't, I wasn't. And then also there was a form of respect that came with setting boundaries. Like people weren't just gonna immediately call me up and expect me to do something. And I would tell them too, you can't just call me up on a random day and see if I can do something. I have podcast interviews. I'm busy. I have a life too. I need you to ask me at least 2 weeks in advance. And in doing that, there was a certain level of respect that started forming around me. And everything began to change. Everything got better. And people realized they couldn't waste my time anymore. I used to let everyone waste my time all the time. So everything got better. And it was hard. There are certain people that benefited from me not having boundaries. They got mad, and that's okay.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that once we start tapping into that self-worth and we start setting these boundaries, the boundaries are to protect you. They're not to keep people out. They're to keep you safe. So how are you doing today? And what do you think, because you are on the Healing Her Within podcast, how do you think your inner child would be feeling about where you are today and your bravery to have left that relationship, started a podcast? How do you think she would be, feeling?
Little Saige would be so proud, and little Saige would feel so safe finally. Because when you set boundaries and say no, you feel safe. And I didn't feel safe before. I just was like, when is the next person going to come at me and rule my life? And I'm not going to be able to say no because I'm scared, Little Saige, I always said I want my future kids to look up to me and to see me as strong and not a coward and someone who, fights for justice and stuff like that. And, I also feel like little Saige would be very proud of me today.
Love that. Now, what made you start your podcast? What was the story behind that?
I remember talking to this girl at Orange Theory, and I was like, because her and I were talking about our narcissistic exes. And I remember telling her, like, I think I should start a podcast about this. And she got so excited. She ended up asking my dad, like 2 days later or like a week later, like, hey, is Saige going to start that podcast? She really needs to do that. And it was so sweet of her to do that and so caring. And I just was like, if this is just one person saying this, how many more people need this? How many more people need my story and need to know they're not alone? And it really hit me. And it was, and definitely God was like, you need to talk about this stuff. Like, this story could inspire and heal a lot of people through your healing. And what really kicked it off was it was late one night, and I had realized that my ex reminded me of the demon in Lights Out. And Lights Out is a horror movie. And I love horror movies. And so I relate my narcissistic ex to this demon. And the similarities are crazy similar. Like, they're a lot alike. And it sounded like gold. It was kind of pure gold, like a Lights Out narcissistic podcast. I was like, I have to do this.
Where can our listeners listen to your podcast and connect with you and learn more about you?
I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer. I have a website that I can send to you, Marianne, if you want to put that in the notes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on all the large platforms. So definitely check me out. You can go to my Instagram. It's a_lights_out_narcissistic_pod. So you can also reach out to me on Insta. I'd love to hear your story and just we can heal together for sure.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Healing Her Within. I hope today's message spoke to your soul and reminded you just how powerful you are. If you loved this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a sister who needs it and leave a review so more women can find their way to healing. And remember, your healing is your responsibility, but you don't have to do it alone. Follow me on social media at Marianne Rivera Dannert and be sure to visit mariannerivera.com. Until next time, keep healing, keep rising, and always honor the woman you're becoming. This is Healing Her Within, and girl, we are just getting started. And one last thing, this is a disclaimer. The information shared in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and it's not a substitute for professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. If you're dealing with mental health or emotional challenges, please seek support from a qualified professional or a licensed counselor. Have a beautiful day.